Okay, so we're starting off where we finished off the other day with human interaction with the sea. So what we have, let me just move this, what we have looked at already is how the sea can give positive human interactions, and then sometimes that human interaction from the point of view of what humans does can be negative, and you took down the table. So we're going to focus in on one element of human interaction with the sea today, and that is coastal erosion. And this is partially in your books on page 170. So because of erosion, and remember erosion is the wearing away of the sea through destructive waves, because of erosion parts of our coastline are being removed, and if we have homes or railway lines or roads along the edges of coastlines, then this can be dangerous. Also, if we've coastal towns that rely on tourism and beaches are being removed by erosion, then this will mean that they will lose out on valuable economic activity. So it's a big problem because it costs money to, one, defend against the sea, to two, repair damage, and three, a loss of income through tourism. It's also becoming more and more of a problem because of climate change. So climate change means that sea level is rising. So we've got higher tides. So higher tides combined with more stormy weather means that the water can reach further on shore and can cause erosion beyond the high tide mark and beyond the back shore, where we looked at storm beaches when we're talking about beaches. All right, let me get rid of me. So how the coast causes problems for humans. I think this is Bray, and this was after storms there a couple of years ago. Here you can see, I think this was the west of Ireland in the same year, that the tide has come right up. And again, this will be a combination of storm weather and high winds and also high tides. And this is in the UK, and you can see this cliff here is being undercut. And as it's being undercut, the top part will collapse down and will be washed away by the sea. So this house isn't going to last too much longer. And exactly the same story happening here. All right. This is another example of how roads can be affected. So if you can see this little bit of edging here, there it has collapsed within the space of 18 days. That all of this area here has been removed by the sea, and you can see the bits of tarmac down here, and another 4 days later half of the road is missing, and this road is now useless. It can't be driven on anymore. So this is the this is the white dotted line that would be in the middle of the road, and that's just completely gone. So in the space of 3 weeks, this road has been destroyed by coastal erosion. Okay, so you need to take this down into your hardbacks. So erosion is when the sea erodes away the land and the coast. It can cause the following problems: roads collapsing, railway lines collapsing, houses falling in. Coastal erosion is becoming a greater problem with climate change as sea levels rise and there are more frequent storms. So yellow background needs to go into your hardbacks. Okay, we can also see this in maps. So if you have a look at the map here in the 1930s, okay, I want you to concentrate on that junction there. And you'll see there's a road coming down here and it kind of makes a Y shape. Okay, so on this map here, that exact same junction is there. Okay, so I just changed the pen color for a sec. Okay, this was the original distance of that junction from the sea. And you can't see what I'm doing, but I'm getting my ruler and measuring that, and that's approximately 3 centimeters. Today, that's the distance. Okay, and if I measure that again, that's half a centimeter. All right, now this is a huge loss of land over 90 years. So basically what's happened is that the original coastline was out here. Okay, I'm not doing a very good job of drawing that. And if we roughly go here, that coastline has moved in this amount, and all of this land here has been eroded away and brought out to sea. Okay, so quite significant. All right, I'm going to show you a couple of video clips that highlight the danger of coastal erosion. Now, they wouldn't work in here, so I'm just going to go to the original clips, which are hopefully here. All right, so this is the first one. Speed this up a little bit.
Living life on the edge. Coastal erosion is something people living in communities like Happisburgh in Norfolk know a thing or two about. The wooden sea defences built here 50 years ago have been failing recently. As a result, large chunks of the sandy cliffs have been giving way and falling into the waters below. It's only a matter of time before houses begin to fall with it. A group of hikers in Cornwall got a first-hand look at coastal erosion in its most dramatic form.
There it goes.
This cliff collapse at Dead Man's Cove is the second to be reported on the same stretch of coast in recent weeks. It's believed climate change is the main cause of this type of erosion, as it's causing sea levels to rise.
Just what I said. Alright, let's look at the next clip. That's enough of you. Go away. Alright, so this cliff here was from France. Let's have a look what's happening here. You can see some just coming off the hills. You can see some cliff collapses that happened earlier in the week. So, when we see this entire section of cliff.
Putain, regarde, ça y est, c'est parti là. Ça y est, c'est parti. Ça y est. Allez, reculez les enfants. Allez, hop. Allez.
And the last cliff here then. Last clip even. Wait for it. Okay, so you can see all of this has collapsed here. You've got a caravan park. These caravans are dangerously close to the edge, and this is all of the rubble that's come off the cliff that's collapsed. And these tractors are having to pull the caravans away from the cliff edge, so that caravan was brought from here because they would have been dangling over the edge. Wouldn't fancy it now if they were my caravans either, to be honest with you. Okay, so massive inconvenience, an economic problem, but also very dangerous in terms of loss of life and damage being caused. Okay, so look, you get the idea of that as well. We don't need to watch the entire thing. So let's get out of that and go back here. Right, so what can we do about this? Because we can't stop the waves from breaking and we can't prevent storms. There are 4 different methods that we can use to protect against coastal erosion: seawalls, rock armour, groins and gabions. Okay, now you don't need to take these down because these are in your book, so I'm just going to go through them and I'm going to explain what they are. So seawalls, first of all, you'll all have seen these. They're in loads of coastal towns around Ireland. They're basically walls that have been built between the sea and the land to protect the land. And what they do is that it's fairly obvious. Instead of the waves breaking on the land, they break on the wall and they don't remove parts of the coast. A lot of the sea walls, you can't really see it here, it's not great, are curved at the top. So we have a better one, yeah. So you see the way that this is curved at the top. So what this does is that when the wave breaks, okay, it's forced back out that way. Okay, so it breaks onto the wall and the curve sends it back out to sea. And the next wave that's coming in, okay, oh, they're kind of backwards waves, sorry. The next wave that's coming in gets hit by this wave, so this wave is now weakened. So if they're curved to the top, they do 2 things. The wall itself protects the coastline, but it also sends the waves back out and it weakens the next wave coming in again. So that's seawalls. Rock armour then, and again you'll have seen these are down on Bull Island just after you get after the wooden bridge, and they're in loads and loads of places around the Irish coastline. Rock armour are these massive boulders that are built up along the coastline to prevent the waves from bashing against the coastline. So when the wave breaks on the rock armour, it's weakened and it has to break up into smaller things to kind of soak through the rock armour, if that makes sense. The only thing about the rock armour is it has to be the right size. If it's too small, it'll just be washed away. And if it's washed away, then the waves can use that for abrasion, and it could actually make erosion a lot worse. So they have to be heavy enough so that they can't be picked up by the waves. More rock armour there in various shapes and sizes. Now, these are called groins. And groins are basically either wooden kind of walls or concrete walls that are built at right angles to the beach. Okay, so if the shore is there, the groin is built at a right angle. And what this does is, it does a couple of things. It breaks the power of the waves and makes the waves a little bit weaker, but it also stops longshore drift from happening. So these are used a lot in coastal areas that rely on tourism, and they need to keep their sandy beaches. So if you have a beach, and if longshore drift, say, is going in this direction here, all right, then sand is being removed from the beach. Now, if there's a groin there, what happens is that the sand gets dropped down within the groin. So the groins is usually a load of them along the beach. So the sand might only be brought from there to there, and from there to there, and from there to there. And it'll build up on one side of the groin, and believe it or not, it's somebody's job to smooth it all out the next day. So the sand isn't removed all the way down the coastline to another coastal village. You get to keep it within the groins on your coast. So this is how it works here. And never mind, these two people are actually alive. I've confirmed this. Now let me get rid of these things. Okay, so here is, this one is concrete. It's at a right angle to the sea. You'll see another one there. So there'll never be just one groin. There'll always be a series of them. And if you look at this, you can tell that longshore drift is going in this direction. And we know that because all of the sand is built up on this side of the wall, and it's been removed from here. So what's happened here is that material has been taken, whoopsie daisies, from this part of the beach, and it's been moved to this part of the beach. And that's why the sand is up against the wall here. And if you look at this side here, the material has been taken from this side of the beach, and it's been moved down there. And then in some places, like I said, somebody comes out the next day and rakes the sand back over the beach. But basically, if this groin wasn't here, then instead of the sand building up here, it would just be brought away from this coastal area, and this coastal area might lose its beach. And if that's the case, if it's a tourist town, if it loses its beach, then it'll lose its tourism income. Now, this is the last one. These are called gabions. I'm not a fan of these because it involves putting rocks in cages, and I believe that rocks should be free to roam the world as they see fit. They also use this at kind of steep slopes on inland areas, not always at coast. So basically they put the rocks in these mesh cages, okay? And why I want that, hang on, let's see, discard. Let's go to the gabions. Yeah, I don't know why it doesn't show that one there. Let me just delete this because you've seen that, and get this one up. So you can see in this coastal area here, the gabions are beneath, they're in layers beneath the sand. And what happens is, it works the same way as the other ones do. When the waves crash, they have to filter through the rocks, and this causes the waves to weaken. And if the waves are weaker, then they can cause coastal erosion. Okay, so this is all I want you to, sorry, now I should change the background of this because I just want you to write this into your hardbacks, okay? So the methods of coastal protection, the four we looked at, are in your books on page 170. There's seawalls, and you've got the description there. There's rock armour, large boulders. There's the groins that are built at right angles, and there's the gabions, okay? And there's a short description of each one there. And these are on your books on page 170. And what I'd like you to do is, using this heading, is transfer these short descriptions into your own hardbacks, okay? And what's really important is that you put in the locations. So seawalls are at Strand Hill, there's rock armour at Tramore, there's gabions at Lahinch, and there's groins at Rosslare. And indeed, if you know of any coastal areas that use these method of protections, then you can use that as an example yourselves, okay? We'll come to that afterwards, and there will be a small assignment to do on this. Okay, so that is human interaction with the coast. The main problem is coastal erosion, and how the four different methods we can use to protect against that.